Welcome everyone to School Shanim Rabot, Ne'imot V'Tovot. Wishing everyone a Chag Purim Sameach as we get into the zone and prepare for this beautiful holiday of Purim that's coming up. It's a beautiful time. It's a time of Simcha. It's a time of Simcha that I think everyone really wants. I think the goal of life is Simcha. There's only one thing that we want in one word, it's Simcha. We want to get married because we know that that's what's going to bring us Simcha, or we think. We want money because we think it's what's going to bring Simcha. We want a job. We want to be good in sports because we know it's going to bring us Simcha, right? Everything that we want is all for the end game of Simcha, of happiness. And of course, the month that we're in, the month of Adar, is a month of Marbim Besimcha. There was a great rabbi 500 years ago. His name was Rav Moshe Isserlis, the Rama. The Rama is a great posek. All the Ashkenazim today, they base their lives on the opinion and on the codification of the Rama. The Rama wrote a book, actually a footnote around the Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Cairo. And the Rama begins his entire book, his footnote, the first line. He writes in the first halakha, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. That I have to have Hashem in front of me, tamid. Always. In life, we have it up there. Hashem should always be in front of me. Beautiful. What's fascinating is that if you go to the last line of the same book, the last line of the Rama in this book of Orach Hayim, the Rama says, the last line, you ready? He speaks about the laws of Purim Katan, mini Purim, which we had this year, on a year that there's a double Adar. And the Rama discusses, on a year that there's two Adarim, do I celebrate Purim in the first one? It's called mini Purim, Purim Katan. Many people, I'm sure, like to drink on the first one as well. But is there a mitzvah to drink? Is there a mitzvah to have a mishteh on Purim Katan? And the Rama writes, although there's no obligation, but he says, Yarbek sat beseuda, but you should try to have a little bit of a nicer meal on the first Purim. And the Rama writes at the end, the last line, Vetov lev mishteh tamid. Somebody who is tov lev, somebody who has a good heart, is mishteh tamid. No? Good. Is always mishteh, is always happy. And the Rama begins his book with the word tamid, and he ends this book with the word tamid. And I think it's because the Rama is teaching us that if in life you want to be mishteh tamid, if in life we want to be always besimha, if in life you always want to be happy, which is I think something we all want, the way to do it, how do I find that happiness always? The way is Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. It goes back to the first line. It's by having Hashem in front of me always. Matter of fact, the Torah writes 16 times to be besimcha. And out of the 16, 11 of them are attached to the words Lifnei Hashem, in front of God. If you want to be happy, you have to be Lifnei Hashem. You have to be Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. If you want simcha, you got to be with God. And the question is, what exactly does that mean? And so today I'd like to share with you just two ideas of what is the connection between having Hashem in front of me and being besimcha. The awareness of God leads to simcha. You see, my friends, when there is a God in my life, when I believe Shiviti Hashem, then there's a master plan. Then I understand that although I may not see, although I may not understand, although to me it doesn't make sense, but to Him it's very clear. To Him there's a reason. To Him, we don't make sense from October 7th. Can't. But Hashem, for some reason, this is part of a plan. When a person has Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, I'm more calm. Not everything has to make sense in my life. It's not random. He's much smarter than me. To Him, this is all part of a process. This is all part of a plan. And so when a person has that bitachon, there's no room for worrying. It's tranquility. I'm more calm. The Chafetz Chaim gives a beautiful example. The Chafetz Chaim says there was once a fellow, he was new in town, and he went to travel, and as he arrives to this community, to the shul, he sits down, and he observes that the shul has different classes, like an airplane. There's first class, there's business, there's coach. There's a section of all the important people, there's a less important section, and then there's the least important section. And then he notices that for the first aliyah, the gabbai, he invites a guy all the way from the poor section. Aliyat Kohen bechavod. The man watching says, okay, it must be that there's no rich Kohanim in the shul. He invites a poor Kohen. The guy goes up for the aliyah, he goes down. All of a sudden, the next aliyah, Levi, again, he goes to the poor section. Levi bechavod. Okay, maybe there's no rich Leviim either. All of a sudden, Aliyat Israel, again, he invites a poor Israel. Now the guy doesn't understand what's going on. He goes over to the Gabbai, he says, I don't understand. 3 aliyot, all 3, you brought from that section. The Gabbai looks at him, and he says, you have questions? Where were you yesterday? Where were you last Shabbat? If you were here, you would have seen that last week I invited guys from that side of the shul, and the week before from that side of the shul. You come here 1 week and you all of a sudden have questions on what I'm doing? Hang out for a week, for 2, for a month, and you'll see that there's an order. You'll see that there's a process. You'll see that there was thought put in to what I'm doing. Chafetz Chaim says we come into this world and we have questions. We see something, we want to know what's going on. We're here for a day, we're here for a month. Hashem says, Rohi, wait. Hang out a little bit. See the story. Understand what's going on. The story of Purim, many things didn't make sense in real time. Why is Esther being taken to be the wife of this foolish king? She's a good Jewish Beis Yaakov girl. Her whole life, she never went to prom. She didn't do anything. All of a sudden, this guy is taking her. Hashem, why? When Bigtan Vaterish wanted to kill the king and Mordechai told him, how did the king reward Mordechai? Nothing. Writes it in a book. Why? Hashem, how does that make sense? Save the king's life. You should get a whole country. You should be made the most wealthy guy. Give him the ring. Nothing. He writes a book. Hashem, why? When Haman wants to kill the people, why? In real time, it's very hard to see. All of a sudden, at the end, everything clicked. At the end, one last piece, everything made sense. Wow. That's why Esther had to be picked, because she needed to be the one in the past. That's why Mordechai couldn't get rewarded, because the king was staying up all night, and it had to have in the book that that's brilliant, that's genius. But you can't have that. You can't see that as the story is developing. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the story of Purim is celebrated at the end of the year. Because if you want to be besimha, you got to wait till the end of the story. You got to wait till the end of the year. You got to wait till it makes a whole circle. At the end, you could look back and say, wow, that's brilliant. Hindsight is 20/20. But to be able to have that emunah, when a person has shiviti Hashem, when a person has emunah, living emunah, when I'm living with it day to day, that I'm able to achieve a tov lev mishte tamid. This is something that Yaakov Avinu himself only learned after 22 years. For 22 years, Yaakov was living in the moment. Yaakov didn't see an explanation. Why did my son have to get devoured by an animal? Why is this guy in Egypt taking Shimon and putting him in jail? Why is he asking for Binyamin? Why is there a famine? Why is this? Why is that? Yaakov Avinu for 22 years, nothing made sense. And all of a sudden, in one moment, everything came together. In a second, all the loose ends. Now everything clicks. And Yaakov Avinu, when he finally sees his son Yosef, our rabbis tell us, Yosef was crying on his dad's shoulders, but Yaakov was not crying on his son's shoulder. Why not? Our rabbis say because Yaakov was saying, Keriat Shema. He's saying Shema. You didn't see your son for 22 years. You can't wait 10 minutes and say it later. You couldn't say it before. You had to say it now. But it wasn't by mistake that he was saying it. Yaakov was saying it on purpose. Yaakov finally, at this moment that he saw his son, he attained a clarity of life, a clarity of everything tying together. At that moment, Yaakov was able to say with full emunah, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Ehad. Hashem is one. It's all one. It's all part of His plan. When I live with Hashem lenegdi tamid, it's all simcha. There's no room for de'aga. Someone said something beautiful one time, that the word de'aga, worry, is 4 letters, and they're all in the beginning of the Aleph Bet. Dalid, Aleph, Gimal, Hey. They're all in the beginning. There's 1 letter missing from de'aga. Which letter? Bet. Bet is bitachon. When a person has trust, there's no de'aga. I'm nervous because I don't see how this makes sense. But if I have bitachon, I don't have to make sense. He makes sense. So that's it. To him, it's good. What do I have to worry about? So this is one idea of the connection between Shiviti Tamid and Mishteh Tamid. But I think there's one deeper dimension. And that is that when I know that Hashem is here, not only do I have trust in Him, but I also have trust in myself. I understand that what I'm going through right now is not by mistake. He is designing this for me. When I live with Shiviti Hashem, this is not an accident. This is not just somewhere that I am, that I have to try to figure out. No. This is exactly part of the game. This is where Hashem put you. You're not stuck. A Jew is never stuck. Stuck is if you believe in accidents. Stuck is when you don't believe in Shiviti. When Shiviti, God is here, God put me here. This is part of my process. This is part of my journey. This is exactly where I'm needed. This is part of my nisayon. This is part of my test in life. You know, there are 2 words in English that we confuse often. The words happy and the word fun. What is the difference between happy and fun? They sound very similar. Fun is happy. They're very different. A movie is very fun. Maybe partying is fun. But what is the difference between fun and happiness? And the difference is very subtle. When I'm having fun, I never solved my problem. I only escaped it. I left. I'm distracted. When I'm having fun, I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a TV show, I'm marathoning, binging, going through all of Seinfeld, right? Whatever I'm doing, I didn't solve my issue. My issue was there. I just forgot about it. It's called a distraction. I'm distracted, right? I want my friends to Six Flags. I'm distracted. I'm not thinking about my issues. But the problem with a distraction is the moment you're not distracted anymore, your issue is right back where you started. Fun doesn't take care of the problem. Fun avoids the problem. But you can't avoid problems for all of life. It's not practical. Simha is embracing the challenge. Simha is, this is where I am, this is what Hashem sent me, I didn't choose it, but this is where He's putting me. And so Simha means tackling head on the issue, figuring it out, not running away from it. But if this is where I am and this is what I was dealt, then let me make the best of it. That's Simcha. That's happiness. I didn't run away. I found courage and strength and resilience to figure out, what am I going to do with this problem? That's how Simha is achieved. I want to just end with one beautiful story. You should all get this book. It's a book that's going to change your life. If you haven't read it yet, Positivity Bias. Game changer. Get this book, my friends. And I want to read to you this story. You know, sometimes in life we get curveballs. Sometimes in life we get things thrown our way. that we didn't envision, that we didn't ask for. I didn't think my life was going to be like this. I didn't think I was going to end up having to be in this situation. I made a certain path for my life, and all of a sudden a different path came for my life. I didn't think I was going to be without a job at 45. I didn't think that. But Hashem did think that. When I have l'negdi tamid, when I know Hashem put me here, I'm able to realize this is part of my journey. This is part of where I'm needed. So I want to read to you an amazing story he brings over here. 1968, Charlie Chisholm was voted to be New York's 12th congressional district representative. And it included the Crown Heights neighborhood. She made headlines as the first African-American woman elected to Congress. However, she soon found her congressional career stunned at its start by race-related politics. Bowing to political pressures from Southern politicians, the House's leadership assigned Chisholm to the Agricultural Committee, a place where it was assumed she could have little influence. At the time, some in New York media questioned the appointment and expressed doubt as to Chisholm's ability to affect the legislative agenda. She was committed to taking care of the issues in the inner city, but her committee didn't have the power to do so. She felt depressed and angry. But then came a phone call from the Rebbe's secretary. The Lubavitcher Rebbe wants to meet you. During the meeting, the Rebbe told the congresswoman, I know you're very upset. Yes, she answered, I'm deeply insulted. What should I do? What a blessing God has given you, the Rebbe told the stunned Chisholm. This country has so much surplus food, and there are so many hungry people. You can use this gift that God gave you, your current position, to feed hungry people. Find a creative way to do it. Tasked with this charge, Chisholm happened to meet Senator Bob Dole on her first day in Washington. He was looking for help for Midwestern farmers who were losing money on their crops. Americans have started purchasing produce from Cuba, the senator told her. And as a result of those imports, our farmers are losing business. Now they have a huge surplus of unsold food, and we don't know what to do with it. Aha, Chisholm thought. The Rebbe's advice. During the next few years and for the duration of the 1970s, Chisholm worked to expand the National Food Stamp Program, which allowed poor Americans to buy subsidized food from Midwestern farmers. Finally, in 1973, the Agricultural and Consumer Protection Act mandated that food stamps be made available in every jurisdiction in the United States. She and Senator Dole went on to co-create the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, aka WIC, which today benefits more than 8 million people each month. The ultimate impact of the Rebbe's positivity bias is movingly summarized in Chisholm's words at her retirement party. I owe all of this to a rabbi who was an optimist, which taught me that what you may think is a challenge is actually a gift from God. And if poor babies have milk and poor children have food today, it's because this rabbi in Crown Heights had vision. So how do we see our lives, my friends? Is it a never-ending parade of obstacles, of aggravating challenges? Or is it a non-stop flow of amazing opportunities? The choice is ours. But when we live with Shiviti Hashem, when we live with Hashem, we understand that it's the latter. We understand that Hashem is not giving me over here a problem. This is an opportunity. If I could only have the wisdom, the foresight to see it, I'll be able to maximize it. May Hashem bless us on this amazing holiday of Purim, on this amazing month of Adar, to always have Hashem with us wherever we go. And the result will always be a constant flow of simcha for the rest of our lives. Hag Sameach.